I informed my wife that my work trip would last 10 days, yet I returned home after just 5 greetings and welcome. Delight in the offerings, join our community, and activate notifications. In the early hours of that morning, Daniel Cross traversed the hallway, his demeanor as composed as ever. Clad in his crisply pressed dress shirt, he exuded the serene composure of a man who has mastered the art of self-discipline. With a steady voice, he conveyed to his wife that he would be departing for a business trip lasting the next 10 days. The journey leads to the Caribbean. The event unfolded as an international convention, featuring a series of meetings and presentations that showcased the results achieved. As he spoke, Marcus Lowell regarded him with the demeanor of one who listened more for the sake of courtesy than genuine curiosity. Once he concluded, she merely responded with a "okay," her gaze unwavering from her phone. There was neither a kiss, nor an inquiry about the flight, nor a simple wish for a good trip. A mere functional silence lingered between two individuals, each ensnared in their own parallel routines. Ethan Carter appeared unfazed by the chill in the air. He seized his suitcase, donned his coat, and departed. Hours later, Marcus Lowell persisted in her daily rituals. The snowstorm of that week had partially obstructed the garage, yet she felt no inclination to ascertain whether Ethan Carter had successfully departed with the car. Their marriage unfolded as a continuous agreement, each partner dutifully embracing their role with minimal disruption. He offered. She upheld the facade of a dignified spouse. Thus, the weeks accumulated one upon another. At approximately 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Marcus Lowell's phone buzzed to life, signaling an incoming video call. It was indeed Ethan Carter. She paused briefly before responding, as her fingers grazed the screen. His visage emerged, dominating the image, while a brilliantly illuminated balcony framed a breathtaking vista of the vibrant blue sea behind him. He wore short sleeves, exuding a sense of ease, his hair gently tousled by the breeze. He smiled, yet there was an air of distance lingering in that smile. He mentioned that he had only just reached the hotel, that the flight had been uneventful, and that he chose to call her to share the news rather than simply sending a text. He remarked that the heat was nearly oppressive, yet he anticipated embracing the obligations and possibly savoring a few moments of respite. He extended his wishes for a serene weekend, and just before ending the call, mentioned that he would reach out occasionally. With a subtle nod, Marcus Lowell affirmed her agreement and concluded the call. Upon setting the phone down on the table, a shift flickered across her face. She strolled to the kitchen at a leisurely pace, her hand reaching for a wine glass. With a swift motion, she downed half of it in a single gulp, abandoned the glass in the sink, and made her way back to the bedroom. With a graceful motion, she swung open the closet doors, selecting an exquisite dress that whispered of sophistication. Her phone, already poised in her hand, was soon to connect her to a number etched in her memory. The contact existed solely in the form of a single initial, etched in ink. The phone rang twice before it was picked up. A resonant voice echoed from the other end of the line. With a smile that hinted at mischief, Marcus Lowell inquired whether he was available for dinner that evening. Andrew Sinclair exuded charisma and success, embodying a spirit of perpetual challenge. For more than 10 years of marriage, he upheld a flawless reputation at the hospital where he practiced as a surgeon. For weeks, he had been engaging in clandestine meetings with Marcus Lowell. They exuded a sense of calculation, restraint, and an undercurrent of tension. Between them lay an intricate dance, a blend of desire and danger, tinged with a thrill of secrecy that enveloped their every interaction. It was this very element that infused her experience with an exhilarating thrill. That evening, as she prepared herself before the mirror, Marcus Lowell appeared unaware of the marriage she was about to forsake. The thought of Ethan Carter never even flickered in her consciousness. He seemed to have transformed into nothing more than a mere formality. Every application of makeup became a brushstroke in the vivid portrait of a character she had meticulously crafted. A role that offered her comfort, allowing her to live freely, provided she maintained the facade that society expected. A taxi pulled up to the doorstep. She entered the vehicle and made her way to the restaurant they had chosen together. A secluded spot, away from the bustling heart of the city, where they could enjoy their meal free from the chance of encountering familiar faces. As the vehicle glided along, Marcus Lowell's gaze drifted beyond the glass, not in appreciation of the landscape, but in a quiet endeavor to arrange her thoughts for the words she would soon speak. That evening promised to be more than just another encounter with Gabriel Hayes. She had matters to clarify, choices to contemplate, or perhaps simply to gauge responses. In the meantime, the city continued to pulse with its familiar cadence. None could have anticipated the revelation that Marcus Lowell was on the verge of sharing. With her poised grace and measured glance, she was confident that all would stay in order. Ultimately, Ethan Carter found himself in a distant land, ensconced in solitude, while she meticulously pursued her life's blueprint, attending to every intricate detail. She was certain that nothing could possibly go awry. Marcus Lowell stepped into the restaurant, exuding an air of confidence, certain that she held the reins of the situation. The maître, with a knowing nod, guided her to her familiar table, tucked away in the corner of the dining room, a sanctuary of discretion. She settled into her seat with an effortless grace, crossed her legs, retrieved her phone from her purse, and set it gently on the table. Gabriel Hayes made his entrance a few minutes later, clad in an elegant blazer, exuding his characteristic confidence. He offered her a gentle kiss on the cheek, then gracefully pulled out the chair and settled himself across from her, meticulously adjusting the napkin on his lap. Once the waiter had retreated, he inquired whether all was well. With a subtle smile, she indicated that a conversation was necessary. As the appetizer was set before them, Marcus Lowell's voice shifted to a more intimate cadence. She revealed that there was a confession she had harbored for years, a secret weighing heavily on her heart. She articulated that, from the outset, her union with Ethan Carter lacked the foundation of love. She recalled that upon their meeting, Ethan Carter had recently come into a substantial inheritance following the passing of his parents. The emotional upheaval from the loss was profound, yet the financial security it provided ensured a lifetime of comfort. He was a meticulous and consistent individual, one who prioritized stability over any fervent feelings. It was precisely that which captivated Marcus Lowell's gaze. During that period, she found herself navigating a tumultuous chapter in her life. She sought a refuge from the storm. Ethan Carter emerged as the anchor she longed for, and in no time, they transformed into a harmonious pair. Yet, there is nothing more to say. In a matter of months, they exchanged vows, with the prenuptial agreement meticulously crafted by the legal minds of his family. Marcus Lowell disclosed that she had embraced everything without a hint of doubt, yet soon came to understand the intricacies of the contract. Should he initiate divorce proceedings, she would be entitled to a considerable share of the assets. Yet, should she choose to end the marriage, she would depart with nearly nothing to her name. This altered the dynamic into a strategic chess match, where each move required careful consideration. Marcus Lowell fixed her gaze on Gabriel Hayes and declared, without a moment's pause, that she upheld the marriage purely for convenience. Ethan Carter provided a life of ease, and she feigned the part of a devoted spouse. Yet, as the days turned into weeks, that very routine started to stifle her spirit. She found herself ensnared in a life devoid of passion. It was then that Gabriel Hayes made his entrance. A man of intensity and directness, he awakened all that Ethan Carter had allowed to slumber within her. With him, she felt a vibrant pulse of life coursing through her veins, the clandestine gatherings, the furtive caresses, the hurried meals charged with unspoken energy. Each moment spent with Gabriel Hayes served as a poignant reminder that desire, daring, and freedom were still very much alive. She uttered this with a hint of cynicism in her smile, a subtle pride in her talent for concealing the truth for such an extended period. Gabriel Hayes remained quiet, yet a shift flickered across his face. He started to regard Marcus Lowell with a changed demeanor, infused with less fascination and more wariness. She went on, expressing her surprise that he would choose to leave his wife. That was never included in the blueprint. She yearned to embrace the moment, to savor the pleasure and thrill it brought her. She yearned to escape the confines of routine with him. She craved the danger, the hidden allure, the excitement of something that remained shrouded in mystery. At this juncture, Marcus Lowell delved into the driving force behind her actions: control. She remarked that the key lay in mastering the art of balance. With a touch of caution, she could preserve the status quo for many years to come. Ethan Carter, ensconced in the comfort of his routine, could never fathom the treachery lurking in the shadows of his existence. He overlooked the signs. He placed his trust too freely. That simplified everything. She articulated that she meticulously sidestepped any arguments or tension within the household, ensuring he had no grounds for suspicion. "Those who have found peace do not seek answers," she remarked, locking her gaze with Gabriel Hayes's. The dinner concluded with an unusual chill in the air. Gabriel Hayes appeared to be adrift, lost in a world of his own. He mentioned that he had to leave early, referencing a surgery scheduled for the morning. He pressed a swift kiss to her cheek before departing. Marcus Lowell lingered a few moments longer, savoring the final sip of her wine, her gaze fixed on her phone as she dissected the conversation that had just unfolded. She believed she had demonstrated resilience. This night revealed unmistakably the mastermind orchestrating it all. That she continued to hold the reins. Yet, on the opposite side, an individual began to perceive her in a new light. And that would transform the entire landscape. The days that followed the dinner unfolded for Marcus Lowell as if a precious gift had arrived, unaccompanied by inquiries. She relished each moment of Ethan Carter's absence, embracing a freedom she no longer felt the need to conceal, not even from her own awareness. Gabriel Hayes began to arrive at the house with an ease that felt almost instinctual, slipping in through the back door, his laughter a soft echo, meandering through the rooms as if he were a part of the very fabric of the place. Marcus Lowell meticulously crafted drinks, curated a playlist, ignited candles, and presented dinners that had never graced her husband's table before. In the quiet of the guest room, they found solace in each other's presence. But one fateful night, Marcus Lowell summoned the courage to lead him to the intimacy of the couple's bed. She expressed a desire to shatter any remnants of memory that might still reside in that place. For a brief moment, that space would genuinely belong to her. They lingered in the afternoons, wrapped in silence, sharing tender touches and whispered secrets, untroubled by the uncertainties of the future. Marcus Lowell playfully remarked that it was akin to enjoying a vacation within the confines of her own abode. She cranked the music to her heart's content, strolled out of the shower swathed in a towel, unconcerned about the door left ajar, and let wine glasses linger throughout the living room, unperturbed by the mess. She felt as though time itself had come to a standstill, as if Ethan Carter had somehow activated a pause button just before stepping away. At last, she was embracing a reality she deemed truly hers. As dawn broke on the fifth day, fortune smiled upon Marcus Lowell, for she found herself alone in the quiet of her home. Stepping out of the shower, she cocooned her damp hair in a towel, only to be interrupted by the unmistakable creak of the front door swinging open. She believed it was the housekeeper, having entrusted her with the key. She called out, inviting him in from the hallway, her attire still incomplete. Yet, the footsteps carried a distinct quality, more resolute. As she rounded the corner, time seemed to stand still. Ethan Carter stood present. In one hand, he held a black briefcase, while a tranquil expression graced his features. He regarded her with a calm demeanor, devoid of haste or astonishment. In that fleeting instant, Marcus Lowell was convinced she had slipped into a dream. Perplexed, she inquired about his presence there. Ethan Carter announced that he had chosen to return sooner than anticipated. He spoke with a nonchalance that suggested he was merely discussing the weather, his calm demeanor unsettling in its ease. He walked into the living room, set the briefcase down on the table, and sank into the couch, as though he had merely popped out for a loaf of bread. Marcus Lowell dashed to the bedroom, hastily donned the first garment she could find, and reemerged, her face still glistening with moisture. Ethan Carter gestured toward the briefcase, his voice steady as he insisted there was something she needed to witness. With a deliberate slowness, she pried it open, her hands quivering with anticipation. Within the confines, one could find a collection of printed messages, call records, photographs, and even a pair of recorded audio clips. Every aspect was meticulously documented, complete with dates and times. Each excursion with Gabriel Hayes, every encounter, every gesture over the past few days lingered in the air. Marcus Lowell turned the pages with trembling hands, her complexion drained of color. Ethan Carter lingered, patiently awaiting her completion. He then revealed that he had engaged a private detective prior to the trip, but it was only in his absence that the detective was able to collect conclusive evidence. As he spoke, Marcus Lowell's world unraveled, enveloped in a silence that bore a weight greater than any scream. Ethan Carter articulated his need for certainty prior to arriving at a decision. At long last, it was his. In a calm and measured tone, he articulated that the prenuptial agreement would become void should infidelity be substantiated. He had already embarked on the journey of initiation. From that moment forth, Marcus Lowell would be stripped of any claim to his assets. He neither insulted her nor questioned her. He conveyed the information to her with simplicity. He assured her that all matters would be handled by lawyers, that the subsequent steps were already laid out, and that she could remain in the house for an additional 2 days until her lawyer reached out to her. Marcus Lowell attempted to present her case, yet her voice wavered. Ethan Carter rose to his feet, deftly adjusted the cuffs of his shirt, grasped the briefcase firmly, and made his way to the door. He paused for a brief moment before departing. He claimed he had always sensed that something was amiss, yet he chose to convince himself that it was merely the inevitable erosion brought on by the passage of time. Yet, even the most predictable of men, when faced with betrayal, discover reservoirs of strength in the most unexpected of places. With that, he departed. Marcus Lowell lingered in that space, solitary, her form anchored to the sofa, her eyes adrift in thought. Amidst all her experiences up to that point, she could never have envisioned that the man she deemed passive would respond with such remarkable precision. After an extended period, a sense of fear washed over her. Yet devoid of scandal or revelation, she dreaded the thought of losing the very essence that upheld the carefully constructed life she had fashioned, the facade of control. At this moment, the reins of power rested firmly in his grasp. The documents made their appearance the following day, presented with notarized signatures, every term meticulously examined by seasoned legal professionals. The package was substantial, devoid of warmth, and unmistakably conclusive. Marcus Lowell devoured each page with fervent intensity. Negotiation was not an option. Ethan Carter had meticulously tied up every point with an artist's finesse. The undeniable act of betrayal rendered the terms of the prenuptial agreement void. All the assurances she believed were secure vanished within the confines of a few lines on a letterhead. In the span of a week, Marcus Lowell found herself preparing to depart from the home that had been her sanctuary for the past several years. The furniture was not hers, the accounts lay in a state of suspension, and the credit cards were rendered void. She found herself gathering her clothes into borrowed suitcases, accepting the kindness of a childhood friend who extended an invitation to share a room in her 2-bedroom apartment, where she resided with her teenage son. In that moment, alongside a boy she scarcely recognized, Marcus Lowell started to grasp the profound implications of her choices. For the first time, her graceful presence failed to unlock the usual opportunities. She had shed the identity of Mrs. Montgomery. She was simply Marcus Lowell, to countless individuals that held no significance. The social circles she once navigated became increasingly insular. Invitations to dinners, charity events, and networking coffees have all disappeared. Though no words were spoken aloud, she perceived the furtive glances, the unanswered messages, and the hollow justifications for canceling meetings. Those who had once lauded her exquisite dresses now found themselves crossing the street to evade her presence. She came to understand that the world she cherished so deeply was governed by unspoken laws. Those who dared to shatter the sacred protocol of perfection found themselves abandoned, cast aside without a hint of ceremony. In a moment of vulnerability, Marcus Lowell extended her hand towards Gabriel Hayes, yearning for that last thread of assurance. She reached out several times. Upon his response, his voice carried a parched quality. He recounted how his wife confronted him, presenting prints and audio clips that he had never imagined anyone could obtain. The parting was destined to occur. While he managed to retain his position at the hospital, the blow to his reputation was profound.